Hi everyone, we are back in Edinburgh today. We're doing a little bit of a sit down and chat with Harry here. Harry is involved in Bipolar Edinburgh services in a number of really cool ways. We're going to find out a bit more about that today. So Harry, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and what it is you do?
Okay, so I work as a senior mental health and wellbeing practitioner for Penumbra Mental Health. I work in conjunction with Bipolar Edinburgh, and I'm in charge of the individual peer support service that has just launched at the start of June.
Fantastic. So that's a really nice introduction to help people get to know you a bit. We'll just move on a little bit now, a bit of chat about your job and what you do. So, what does your role at Penumbra involve on a daily basis?
I would say there's no trend in support. It's a lot of it is getting people out and about and giving them a sense of community and building their confidence and resilience and learning to understand the condition and using that to live a life where there is hope at the end of the tunnel, and they can live life to the fullest.
That's absolutely amazing. Sounds really rewarding. What is it you love about your job in particular, about that process?
I think the biggest thing I enjoy about my job is that it doesn't feel like work, because I'm going out and doing something that I'm passionate about and helping people who have a similar lived experience than me. And I think if I can offer any advice or common ground, then it's a really valuable process.
Is that the kind of thing that you're striving for in your work, to kind of give people hope and show how well people can live with bipolar?
Absolutely, I think you've hit the nail on the head. It's you know it's all about recovery, and I think recovery is an ongoing thing, and it always will be, especially for myself, but also others. So I think if even if I help one person, then that's a job well done.
Absolutely, that's incredible. Build beyond that. Why do you find your work important, particularly what you do with people on a day-to-day basis? What makes it important to you?
I think it gives me a purpose, but also it's therapeutic as well, in the essence that me helping other people and trying to advise them to do the right things, and offer advice when necessary or appropriate. I think it keeps me grounded, but gives me a good focus as well on how to look after myself.
That's really good. So you can help other people, and that gives you so much benefit as well. It's amazing you can help yourself and others at the same time.
Yeah.
Really valuable. What are the differences you'd say, or individual struggles that you see people that you meet going through or working with as they live with bipolar?
I think it all boils down to the fact that everyone's different, and everyone has their own unique set of circumstances. Um, Bipolar can be so diverse. You can be up one day and then down the next day, and there's different types of bipolar, like bipolar type 1 and type 2, and they differentiate that one type has more depressive episodes, and then another type has more hypomanic episodes. So I think everyone I see, it's really taking them at face value and offering them the support and kind of care that they need to achieve their goals and objectives.
That's amazing. So you kind of meet people where they are as they are, and just work with them as you find. It's a job that must require a lot of flexibility and adaptability in your approach. It's how you work with individual people.
Yeah, and I think a great analogy that on a recent training course I was on is the fact that every time I start support with a supported person, you're as well putting like a blank sheet of A4 paper down, and that's where you go from there.
Yeah, everyone's a blank slate, completely
Yeah.
unique in the approach you take. That's fascinating to hear, because we like to think that if someone has some kind of mental health condition, your professional's got like a tick list of things you go in and do with someone, but it's really interesting to hear that it's such a unique approach depending on who you're working with. That's fascinating. And based on what you've seen with people, what you've done with people, are there any learnings or recommendations you make for people who perhaps are struggling in their, to cope with their bipolar, or perhaps looking for things they can try to help themselves live a little bit better?
For me, I think it's, simple things like taking my medication at the right time. It's my diet, making sure I eat well, making sure I've got a regular sleep pattern, and it's all about controlling the controllables. Also, like exercising is a big thing for myself, and I know that will differ from supported person to person, but really it's finding the right balance that kind of is trying to keep you on an even keel, which it's easier said than done.
I really like that, controlling the controllables. That's a really, really good way of looking at it. These things seem very basic to a lot of people, but they can be quite tricky, especially if you're struggling already to get things like sleep and exercise and diets, things that are so fundamental that perhaps people who don't know the struggle of living with bipolar take for granted, that can be so, so difficult. That's really, really interesting to hear from you. What definition do you tend to use to describe the bipolar condition when you're working with Bipolar Edinburgh?
In terms of, describing having bipolar or living with bipolar, a condition, I would always, choose the living with bipolar because one, it doesn't go away, but I think that adjective proves that it's manageable. And that word, like to me, it gives a lot of hope.
Absolutely. It means that, as you touched on, you can live a full life of goals and aspirations, and even with this condition, you can have a really rich and fulfilling life. Are there any metaphors that you use to think about the condition with the people you support, or when you're visualising your bipolar yourself?
Yeah, so I think in terms of a good analogy, it'd be rehabilitation, coming back from an injury, and that I think the hunger and desire to get back to where you want to be is key, and it's given me a lot more resilience that when I became ill and I was in hospital and things, it did seem like the end of the world, but I managed to drag through myself through those difficult stages and get to where I want to be. And I could never imagine sitting here today thinking that I'd be leading a bipolar individual peer support service when, I doubted if recovery was even possible back in 2016.
That's a really, really good way of looking at it. I like that a lot. In terms of the services that Bipolar Edinburgh provide, we've got loads of amazing meetups and resources that you can use. Like we've got an 18 to 30 group that is for young people who are living with bipolar disorder. Have you ever used any of these resources we've got, or been to any of these meetings, and what did you think of them?
Yeah, so it was great when I accepted this position. Whilst I was still working at the Edinburgh Crisis Centre, I attended the first 18 to 30 meeting group online remotely, and I thought it was great. It was great to see like-minded people living with similar conditions, getting together and supporting each other mutually. So I thought that was really good. I was fortunate enough to go along and be in person at last month's 18 to 30 group. And to see it in the flesh was even more impressive because, just the kind of the organisation that goes into it, and the fact there was a guest speaker who came along, and then there was opportunity at the end to speak to other people and get to know other people. It really came across as a safe space, which I think a lot of people with bipolar, maybe struggle with it.
So I'd like to ask you a little bit about your experience with bipolar now, and how you find living with the condition. When did you first find out about bipolar? When did you first find out that you were living with it?
Yeah, it was after when I came back from the United States after being ill, and I was sectioned in December 2015 after having a manic episode. I was then in hospital for 4 months at the Royal Edinburgh Hospital, and I was diagnosed bipolar then, which it came as a shock because I'd never experienced anything like that before, nor did my family or friends have any idea that I was susceptible to having this condition.
Wow, so it was a real, really came out of the blue, that really surprised you.
Yeah.
That's really, really tough to deal with, kind of having your world was turned upside down, but learning that this was what you were living with.
It was really scary.
Have you got any stories or experiences that come to mind when you think about your experience with bipolar disorder?
I think one word I'd use would maybe be random, because you can be the lowest of the low, or you can be as high or as manic as possible, which they're at so different ends of the spectrum. It's hard to kind of compute sometimes or keep track of it.
Do you use a mood scale? We've touched on it a little bit there, but is it like a day-to-day tool that you make the most of?
Yeah, I was really impressed when I was given the mood scale from the Bipolar Edinburgh staff, because I think if I'd been given that leaving the hospital after a section, that would have helped me by no ends, and also my family to kind of help understand how to look after myself.
That's really, really good. So you can help other people, and that gives you so much benefit as well. It's amazing you can help yourself and others at the same time.
Yeah.
Really valuable. So, Harry, just before we wrap up, can you tell us how people can access the individual peer support service?
Yeah, absolutely. So people can go onto the Bipolar Edinburgh website and self-refer themselves from there, following the link for the service. And people can also go onto the Penumbra mental health website and find the service from there.
Fantastic. That sounds really, really straightforward to use. And just before we finish, is there anything else you'd like to say, or anything you'd like to add?
No, I'd just like to say thank you to everyone who's made the first month of the service a success, and we want to keep things growing and moving in the right momentum, and encourage anyone who has a bipolar diagnosis to come forward and even give it just a try, and that could be coming to a monthly meeting or discussing a service over the phone with someone like myself. So yeah, that's it from me.
Absolutely fantastic. From me, I'd just like to say a quick thank you to Harry for coming along today and being so amazing and answering all our questions, and to Bipolar Edinburgh and Penumbra for making this interview possible. Follow the links below this video. You can check out everything we're doing in terms of events and everything in terms we do in terms of offering services. Thanks very much for tuning in today. We'll see you again soon.